What does it mean for something to be Spielbergian? If you looked up the term, you'd find the obvious, of or pertaining to Steven Spielberg. But what does that mean? Recently, I pulled an all-nighter watching the tremendous new Netflix series Stranger Things. And while its quality certainly isn't beholden to all that's come before, one name kept popping into my mind with each passing episode. Spielberg. Stranger Things has a lot going for it, especially all of its references to the coolness of the 80s. But I wanted to use Stranger Things as an example as to what it means for a series or a film to be Spielbergian, and why that's a good thing. On the surface, Stranger Things is brimming with 80s nostalgia. Everything from the Benguiat font and 80s movie references like The Thing and Poltergeist, to the neon lighting and cool synth soundtrack. And may I say, as an aside, my god, that soundtrack. This extends to Spielberg. Again, superficially, he's everywhere. We have beings from an alternate dimension, government conspiracies, a lost individual capable of astonishing feats, and the intimidating government agency hunting them. And we are even introduced to our primary children characters in the same manner as Spielberg's own E.T., with the group playing Dungeons & Dragons. The parallels to Spielberg's works, E.T. especially, are obvious, but again, that's just on the surface. It'd be shallow to assume that Spielbergian simply refers to callbacks to his films. No, when I think of the term Spielbergian, I think of something with more substance. Spielberg's films often explore themes of family and friendship. It's the ties that bind us that he's most interested in. Perhaps the greatest strength to Stranger Things is the relationships these characters have with one another. The young boys' internal bond with one another through their geeky interests and love of all things considered uncool is easily relatable, especially to someone like me that spent much of his youth playing video games, watching superhero and sci-fi movies, reading comic books, and playing Dungeons & Dragons. Okay, so I do that in my adulthood too. An outsider challenging that group's dynamics, ultimately finding a place within them, is another universal theme of acceptance of those society deem as different that you'd find in a Spielberg movie. A parent willing to do anything for her children, losing her mind when one of them goes missing, and doing whatever it takes to get them back. Again, something you'll find in Spielberg's films. People that would never bond in a normal setting being forced into situations together, allowing them to better understand someone they normally wouldn't give a second chance to. Spielberg has always been interested in the family dynamic, and it even shows up in movies of his like Saving Private Ryan, with the idea of loss of blood brothers, but the bond between a brotherhood of friends. Obviously, Stranger Things explores these notions too. Spielberg also takes interest in the unknown, but he doesn't express a fear of it. He uses it as a means to convey childlike wonder and awe. Indiana Jones discovering lost artifacts, that first time you see a dinosaur in Jurassic Park, the majesty of Neverland, or more recently, the unexpected friendliness of a giant. Stranger Things brings that to the table too. You can't help but be awestruck at Eleven and her abilities, and while those can be used in terrifying manners, scenes like this can't help but to make you feel like a kid again. And even though the Upside Down is a horrifying mirror of our real world, it's no less fascinating than all those worlds Spielberg has opened up for us time and again. If Spielberg and his style have a flaw, it would be sentiment. He can be overly sentimental, and that bleeds into works inspired by him, but it doesn't happen often, which shouldn't be hard to fathom considering he's one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. But that most certainly doesn't happen in Stranger Things, and that idea of sentiment ties into Spielberg's greatest strength, and the strength of Stranger Things. It's been posited before that frequent Spielberg collaborator John Williams doesn't write music, he writes emotion. I'd argue that the same could be said with Spielberg. His films are emotion personified, which is why sometimes they can be dangerously sentimental. But when he hits the proper emotions, it's unlike any other. Stranger Things borrows this concept to the fullest. Everything from the joy of watching Eleven discover the world, to the heartbreak of watching Joyce crumble after her son disappears. These emotions are so vividly conveyed that it makes the series incredibly addictive. And that, in the end, is what makes Stranger Things Spielbergian. It doesn't just have the family dynamics, brotherhoods, or sense of wonder that's par for the course with Spielberg's films. It's the raw emotion. It isn't Spielbergian because it looks like it. It's Spielbergian because it feels like it. Entertainment is always well and good, escapist or otherwise, but when a movie or show can connect with you on such a visceral level, there's nothing else like it. It's what makes Spielberg such a beloved filmmaker to this day, and it's why many emulate his style. Stranger Things will undoubtedly make you feel, and at the end of the day, that's one of the highest compliments a TV series can receive. And at the end of the day, I'd rather feel something than nothing.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, there it is.